welcome back to the desk, everyone, for the last post game of this EMEA Masters semifinals between Karmine Corp and Team Geo. And guys, it's Silver Scrap.
It's great.
Get it?
Silver? Say that again louder. I can't see it. It's behind my head.
Silver Scrap. because it's French and it's game. Anyway, and honestly, I'm really happy that both teams are fighting as hard as they can to get to Montpellier and play in front of their home crowd. I didn't expect to see Rise here on the side of second, but I feel like you gotta pick the all-time classic if you want to make it.
Yeah, it does feel like definitely going back to a bit of comfort here, especially like getting that control for Seiken. And he had a fantastic game on it. Like, to be fair, we've kind of been saying, look, mid lane hasn't really mattered too much in this one. Takui was very much muted, but when you looked across the Seiken, consistently popping off in these team fights, getting the realm warps into the right place at the right time to set up his team, it felt like Seiken was firing on all cylinders in this one.
It kind of felt like that from all of Karmine Corp really in this game as well, and they really got ahead early just through the Neela and the Senna as well, that just kind of the thing had to push down in bot side, and it made things a bit more uncomfortable to play as well. But yeah, absolutely, the fact that you had a big step up in the fact that Seiken was there was monumental. But I also think one of the big difference makers is the fact that that rail went through and multiple times Synchro found really mecha engages that just CC'd up multiple people.
And honestly, it felt like Team Go or Geo were even a little bit like suspect on themselves. There were times where on bot lane I was like, oh, okay, they're going to be able to make this big play, right? We saw them as a 3 versus 2. Communities goes in for the engage, but they were so scared of the Rel that Rel wasn't even in bot lane. They were like, no, they're going aggressive. That means she's here. And I think it was a lot of them kind of playing towards just being in their own head, being nervous about giving over that advantage to Karmine Corp. And if you're playing that scared, you're never going to be able to have that winning moment. And I mean, you can see it here, right? I thought this was going to be a big fight for Team Geo where they were able to pop off, but I mean, Seiken putting himself into the position that he needed to try and carry, and it felt like Karmine Corp were more willing to do that across the board.
But I also, it's weird, right? Because it felt like in this specific game that Geo was going to come into it having learned the lessons of the series so far, particularly from draft as well. What worked? All right, what worked for us? We took away the Renekton from Kappa shot. We made sure our bot lane was set up for success. Whoever had the rail was going to win it, so maybe we should have taken that away. And it just felt like in this game, they kind of threw it out the window, let Karmine Corp have their comfort then afterwards, and you can see it. This was just a clean game, you know? There was no coming back in this one. This was just Karmine Corp taking over.
And this is, for me, that's the draft that Geo could have foreseen in a way, because you know that Rise aside, we know that the secret bot lane, as Karmine Corp likes to call it, with the Neela and the Senna is something that can come up. And I know that before the game I was saying, hey, we need some innovations on the side of Karmine Corp, but it was just going back to basics, actually.
Yeah, I mean, even things like the Braum being banned away there just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. If you're going to end up going into this draft as well, the fact that you're giving over both the Rel and the Renekton, as GB was kind of highlighting, it felt like there was no real understanding from Team Go or Team Geo how it's been working for them thus far, and it just felt very, very strange to me. So I'm curious to see now when we start to move into Game 5 how they start to transition into that, because I mean, Cabochard has been popping off consistently on this top side. He needs to be shut down, and then as well now you've just added a new problem into the mix, which is Seiken on this Rise. Like the Talia has been picked so many times throughout the series, and there's not one game where I've been like, that's been the difference maker.
And that's what can throw you off, honestly, going into this Game 5, as you said, is what kind of bans should be put focus on here when it's on this side of Geo. What do they want to target? And I'm going to venture a wild guess and say that Geo is going to play blue side.
Yeah, we haven't got a confirmation, but
I'm
pretty
quite sure. But yeah, I guess that would make sense because, I mean, Karmine had difficulties playing on red side so far, and so did Geo. I think it's going to come down to this, but I want us to focus on the next game, and I want you guys to give me 3 points. Of course they pick blue. Thank you so much, production. But I want you guys to give me 3 points, whether it's in draft or execution of the draft, that you want to see for each team to win. Starting with K-Corp. What has been working for them, and what do we want to see here?
Are we making it separately, or are we making it
you can
converse, yeah. I do think, especially for Karmine Corp, it's going to be a case of like trying to get Cabo on something comfortable on that top side. Like having the advantages over Ragnar has been huge, but even that doesn't necessarily mean that he has to go for a Renekton or something. Honestly, I think even going away and going back towards like an Ornn or something along these lines could actually work out very, very well for Karmine Corp. And then as well, I think looking at that bottom side, the bot lane has been such a big factor throughout the course of this series. The Kai'Sa hasn't been getting the best pretty much across the entirety of this series either. So I think actually prioritizing things like Isaiah or Azeri are going to mean much more coming into this one.
Yeah, to shorten the points, because I kind of agree. It's just let Cabochot do whatever Cabochot wants. He's definitely, even in the Jax game, like, he wasn't popping off, so it felt worse, but he was just kind of going even and not getting as much out of it as we usually want. So you can leave Capo by himself. He's amazing. But I think the bot lane is the difference maker in both games, right? We've said it so many times. If I get the bot lane ahead, really just get the balls rolling. I think it was an outlier right now with Staking on the rise, and I think keep the solo lane stable. Have a winning matchup for Linkers as well, so not necessarily a winning matchup, but a matchup where he can be influential. Champions with CC is like alpha mecha here, because we've seen it so many times in skirmishes. The ease of execution, it really helps you out. So yeah, securing the bot lane for me is the most important thing.
And on that note, just one last thing is, I'm not a fan of the Nautilus this series. Every time we've seen it, it's been like hooks going wide, which is kind of more impressive than anything else. And as well, even the ultimates haven't been that great. Hasn't really been the follow-up for it. So I've been more impressed with Alistair's. I'm more impressed with the Leonas that we've seen. I think the Nautilus just has to go at this stage. It's just not doing what it needs to in that bottom side.
Do you go back to comfort in this situation, or do you think outside the box is what I'm wondering? Because we know that Jesu can flex the vein. We know that Casey can be creative as well. Any wild champions that we may anticipate here?
Well, I think those are exactly it, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the danger of going into the last draft, because Blue side has won every single game. So wait, did they win?
Yeah, they have. Yeah. That's the
Okay.
case. Yeah.
Has won every single game so far, and that also means that there kind of is a set formula in terms of what they've gotten every single time. So Rel comes to mind, but also a good bot lane with counter matchup. And I think it really just comes down to the fact that breaking a game apart with curveballs can really be what really throws this game into a chaos that can benefit either of the team if they're the one dictating it. If that's a Vayne and there's not too much CS, sure. But if that's Seiken on Rise with a comfort pick where he gets ahead and suddenly the map gets opened up on a side lane and you have a harder time playing into it, that could also be crazy, because it was not just a Kui earlier in the game right now that was muted. It's kind of been both made late lines that was just muted in the first few games.
And that's what we've been saying. How much is this Rise pick gonna throw GO off going into this next draft? Are they gonna shift completely their priorities going into draft? And yeah, for
I
me,
think
that's
second ban phase is where you really start to think about it, right?
Thank
Because like
you.
maybe there's too many OPs in the beginning, but second ban phase, right? That's right.
Yeah, I think that's
Does he play that? Will he do it?
But it's also even seen some of the OPs for this series. We talked about the Rel, right? That snuck through in the last one, had a big impact again. So I think there's definitely a huge amount, but I think Seiken having things like the Rise here to fall back on and that comfort has definitely shaken things up here, especially when it looks so good against the Talia, which has been high priority across the board for Team GO. And I think it's kind of impressive to see Seiken stepping up once again here, because I mean, when we think back to, look, he may not be like fully the OG in a sense, but he's definitely like, you look towards, he's the guy in this team that has 3 of the championship titles. He's been here every time Karmine Corp has won. And then for him to step up massively here alongside his teammates that, you know, have 2 titles essentially apiece, it's incredible to see that he is kind of putting himself forward when the chips are down to be that front face that the team needs.
And that's the thing. I want to do a bit of momentum check with you guys, because 2-2 in this series, both teams, French teams, looking to lock in Montpellier, play in the finals. Geo wants to reach their first finals, always fall in semi. And on the other side, you have Karmine Corp, who want to come back to their former glory and prove that they still have it with a new player on the bot lane. So in that sense, who would you give the momentum to? Who do you think has the advantage here, and who wants it more? Because for me, that's what it's going to come down to.
To me, it's hard with the momentum, because it's really just been a metronome going back and forth in terms of really getting it each game. But I think in terms of who wants it more, they both do, but for different reasons, right? And you kind of said it yourself there. I think for GO, for a lot of their players, never having really been to the EMEA Master Finals, and I think for them, like Takui, Jesu, to come back and really prove yourself in the regard that you've been in a major league, you want to get back there, that's absolutely huge for a player like Ragnar as well, where it's you've been in a top laner that's been a discussion for so long. There's a fly in my head.
This fly is loving you, man. Yeah.
Your opinion stinks, apparently.
Apparently. You know? But for them, there's so much on the line, because they haven't, at least for a guy like Ragnar, haven't been at the big league yet. And to him to achieve, you know, a good spotlight towards it would be absolutely monumental.
And look, I'm not very superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, all right? And if you look at how, if you go back to like summer 2021, the team that is always in a close best of 5, beaten the DOC region, has gone on to win the tournament. So if you look at like Karmine Corp versus Big right back in the day, it was Karmine Corp who then won. Then it was UOL and Karmine Corp. So this was 2021 summer. Spring 2022 was Karmine Corp versus UOL. Then it was UOL versus Heretics. Then it was UOL versus Istanbul Wildcats last year. Like, I'm just saying,
they have the momentum.
The formula is there.
Okay.
You know? So technically, by that right, it should be Team GO is able to take the entire tournament.
We had we had a similar situation in the LCK actually, where it was the team that ends first in the regular season is usually the one taking the title. Bad luck, it was KT. Didn't happen. So I'm just wondering if it's going to be the same case here. But to follow up on the point you were mentioning, you have players who want to reach the LEC stage, Linsas, Ragnar,
yeah, I mean, honestly,
Kalist even, and also players who want to make their comeback story to the league. I think of Targamas, Jesu, even Cabochard, maybe why not? But the story on each side is so huge and very similar for each player that, I don't know, for me it plays to the way they've been displaying their strength today.
I really just think like the big ones as well. Actually, I mentioned this in the beginning, but a guy like Linkers to make it here as well to the EMEA Master Final. I think Camilius as well. Like, there's obviously 4 to 5 on Casey as well that's been in LEC before. So I think it's just the guys who's never tasted that. You know, the guy who's not been there yet, who's kind of led by the veterans around them. For them to make that step and overcome even the people that's teaching them right now, that'd be huge.
It all comes down to this in Le Derby Français. We'll see who takes Game 5 and reaches Montpellier for finals next week. Casters, take it away.
So much pressure. There's honestly, I don't think we could have said it any better than the desk. There are so many players who are looking to reprove themselves.
Yeah.
You join the big leagues and then you fall because you might have had a bad split, and then you need to prove yourself again. Times 10, because they've already seen you on the big stage and you fell.
What if you got this different
So
to
now you
last
need to
time?
be 10 times better. And there's a bunch of rookies rising. But ultimately, it falls down to KC having to win a game on red side. Not a single team in this best of 5 has won a game on red side. And it has to be KC if they want to keep the tradition of always winning when they're here.
And for both of these teams, for so many of these players, semi-finals isn't good enough. They want absolutely everything. They want to prove that they are worthy of being the best in the ERLs. They are worthy of making their way to finals.
Tristana!
And that is a Tristana that is open, but so is Taliyah. And we've seen that matchup go very Taliyah favored when it has been picked.
The Maokai ban from the set of Geo kind of gave it away. That Casey have found that Rel is a bigger problem than potentially a Tristana right here. I wouldn't be surprised even if Tukui like goes towards something like the Taliyah. It has not worked well for Tukui, even though he's a great Taliyah player. It has not necessarily worked well. But if this Sejuani gets locked in here, I think it makes sense. You take it away from Syncroft. I think it's worked better when you take it away from him. And paired up with potentially something like the Jace or a Tristana in the middle, you can establish dominance and freedom for the Sejuani to roam the map around.
And of course, Syncroft has had a pretty lackluster series. Game 4 with a breath of fresh air. Game 4, he looked very good. Seiken as well, absolutely roaring to life in that one, but I don't think it's any surprise to see Renekton locked in here. Cabochard has looked monstrous on that Crocodile. True Kaiju status, is it just the Zeri?
At this point, it has to be. At this point, it has to be. I mean, I would have seen a Sejuani Renekton combo if it hadn't been B1 right here. But unless you want to prioritize, I don't think you want to blind pick either the Taliyah or the Tristana right here, because one sort of counters the other. You don't want to be on the back end of that, especially when you're red side. You do. Okay, the Taliyah is going to get locked in right here.
Does that deny the Tristana?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that was even a Jace. I think it works. A Jace, Kaisa rotation over here from the set of Geo could be huge as well. You've got the poke down, you've got the raw damage, you've got the consistent numbers coming through. And since you do see the Renekton, you can potentially B4 or B5 something for Ragnar that he feels comfortable playing into the Renekton.
Worth noting, of course, that Jesu does play Tristana if they want to go towards it. And no, it's back to Orianna.
I'm not sure I like that.
It worked well the first time they pulled out, in fairness, so I'll give some credit there in that
the first time around, it was an Ivan with an Orianna. It was a lot of utility.
And you had the Rel to deliver it.
When I say Sejuani, I just want to see it paired up with something that can make plays on the map, potentially like a melee top laner. You do have the likes of Renekton over the top, so you're locking the Cassandra. It's just not the same flavor, you know? It feels like, okay, this is a Sejuani that Mad Lions used to pick up in 2v1, and it's called a sacrificial Sejuani. She doesn't have a job on the map necessarily, like she doesn't have a lane to snowball, but she is there for the non-committal engage and how strong the champion itself is. So, Linces on a sacrificial Sejuani.
And in fairness, it is a slightly different look in the top lane. In fact, it is not. It is a tankish matchup, yes.
K'Sante in a
exactly.
long time.
We haven't seen the K'Sante in top lane in a little while, but maybe it can brawl with Renex a little bit early. It is a melee synergy with the Sejuani. Maybe you can make that work, but Karmine Corp go right back to the joy unending. Nila locked in. It looked great.
They're baiting in a Senna ban right here. Nila can work with so many other supports.
So
the Taric coming out off the top of my head. Targamas can play pretty much anything on the support side. Alistar is okay, but I feel like Taric and Senna are so great with her because Nila likes to jump forward. You get the stun as well, guaranteed to hit the ultimate straight after, so you can very easily brawl on that bot side of the map. So
what works with Samira sometimes is the question, like, does this work? That'll do as well. I mean, you're not right though. Like, Taric, of course, was that duo that when Nila was first
lots of shielding and healing as well to share through.
Exactly that. And again, of course, Nila is very potent with champions that can heal and shield her. So things like, honestly, Sona and Dejana have been around for that champion a little bit as well. But it is, of course, Jezu that is the focus of Karmine Corp's second round ban.
I'm glad the Ezreal got banned, by the way. I did not want to see Ezreal right here whatsoever. I want to see something that has pure raw damage numbers in the kit. I'm looking at Aphelios, I'm looking at Jinx, I'm looking at anything that can pump numbers. You've got so much protection, you've got beefy frontline, you've got Orianna throwing balls and zoning for you, shielding you, giving you speed ups. I'm looking for a champion. There you go, yeah. I'm looking for a champion that can complement Jezu, and right now I feel like Aphelios and Jinx fit the bill. Unless he also plays Draven, but I don't know how scary that is.
It's game 5. Maybe it is time to throw the chips where they may lie, and that might be an answer. Just fight fire with fire, or in this case, I suppose, water with axes. But the Rakan is locked in. A champion that has been very potent across recent patches, but has been pretty absent this series. In fact, entirely absent this series. Sivir locked in, will do the damage.
That's raw numbers.
It's through a lot of melee champions. Well, Nila, melee, Rakan, Renekton. You can try and play that well. You get the Alistar, which Nila really hates because, of course, your Jubilant Veil does absolutely nothing to stop that engage coming on through. And you can headbutt her away when she tries to go for the engage.
I love that.
That's the answer, but
this is
instead,
the stronger bot lane. GO are taking priority through Sivir raw split pushing. You've got insane numbers later on when it comes to DPS. You've got a 3-man beefy frontline in front of you. So much utility, speed up shields coming in from the Orianna. This is another game 1 where all the eggs are into Zeus' basket. And he's holding the key to GO, doing something that no other team has ever been able to do at EMEA Masters.
that, for those who haven't been paying attention, is knock out Karmine Corp. A reminder, this team is undefeated at EMEA Masters in terms of their end position. They have always come first when they have attended. They have always won. Sometimes they've had to make a run from play-ins, but they've won it. This would be a 4th championship for this organization, which is extraordinary.
I want Synchro to wake up in this game. He needs to wake up for his team. It was all about Targamas and Synchro building up the momentum, being the engine of the team, if you will, of Karmine Corp, the OG Karmine Corp, the one that made them famous in the ERL war, the one that brought up all of this roar from the fans and brought it over at EMEA Masters. He has his hands on a Jarvan. He needs to be early in that bot lane. Nila and Rakan are going to get pushed in. Sivir has so much poke and so much shove in the early stages of the game, and Rakan does have what it takes to lock down... Alistar has what it takes to lock down Rakan.
It's not just an Alistar, remember? It's an Alistar with an Orianna ball on top. It's been a little bit since we've seen the cowball combo.
Well, I was talking about only 2v2, but if you have the Orianna in the equation, it looks scarier.
So your ability to get some really nasty snap engage is pretty good, and if Synchro puts down Cataclysm in the wrong space, you can end up with a very dangerous situation.
I mean, who are you really scared of if you're Geo? The only person you're scared of reaching your backline is probably Cabochad on that Renekton. He's been an absolute monster onto this Renekton. So you're scared of him. You take him out with K'Sante. Look at the beefy members that are left behind from the side of Geo in a 4 versus 4 scenario, right? And how squishy on the other hand side KC is. Now, of course, KC did this, I think, over in game 2.
Yeah.
Trying to pull a cheeky level 1 on the other hand side. Look at how cautious Camillus is playing. You pull in a little bit. Oh, spotted. Very nice ball right there from Tukui. And they will know that the ward is going to go down, whether it's through the wall over in the red side, on the red buff, or in that bush that was placed in by KC. There are no sweepers.
But there is a crocodile in the jungle leaving the river to see whether there's prey to be found elsewhere. Oh yeah, it won't quite come and contest that. 2v2 might be a little bit risky for an exit, even if he is pretty strong. the permafrost and the rest of it perhaps a little difficult to deal with.
Okay, here
Both
it is.
junglers starting on the same side.
Here it is. Psycho, Malrank, level 2, gank bot lane. Red to bot. Red to bot. Take that Silver Flash straight to... Ooh! Okay, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. You playing Javan, you have to be creative. I think he's evaded vision. I think he's evaded... Oh my god, just about. Just about evaded vision. He's gonna... Lintus is gonna spot him though. Yeah, they just spotted him right now, so... Unfortunately for Synchro, he's gonna get spotted right here. Does have the red buff. He's going to engage with Lintus, but he's on a 1v2.
It's gonna get risky. It's so early. It's so dangerous. Blast Cone is there. How much more can they do to Kui? In and out in a 1v2. It's so all over the place, but Synchro dies to first blood. Karmine Corp go too eagerly. They go too deep. The threaded volley does some work, and Takui needs to be a little afraid of the damage over the wall, but will survive for now.
He was creative until he was too aggressive, until he was too overeager, until you go 1v2!
Bot lane has been so dangerous. Spell shield comes on through, buying some time. Kalist buying time to turn around. Targamas gets a kill. Jezu left for the Wolves, or in this case, it's a bird. No, he's not. He gets rid of the AD carry. Now he can try and play this one out. Must survive Targamas.
Synchro's coming, Synchro's coming.
They're going to try and get this one out. Gets a knock-up, trying to buy time and space, but there's just not far enough to run. Targamas makes it happen. 2 kills to Targamas, but Jezu gets 1.
And honestly, the bot lane from the side of Geo are going to be in a really bad position when you look at the wave when we come out. Synchro just about gets spotted, actually, from that ward. What a genius ward placement right there. And Lintus knows that he wraps around. Synchro expects Lintus to actually start the wolf camp right there. And Takui wraps around first, of course, he's closer to that side. Synchro tanks everything at the very beginning. And then when Seiken joins, they try to take Takui down, but it's already too late. Synchro is too deep in, he can't get out. And Camillus is looking for the angle right there, but mind you, there are a bunch of creeps. They're gonna just take that level 2, and Kalist is pretty low in HP, so the idea was great right there. But I feel like Targamas saves Kalist over there. You see all the shields coming through. The Ignite is just not good enough, and Camillus ends up going down to Zoo with a very clutch flash for the kill. We have more in the jungle. Sorry, the bot lane.
Doing his best to survive. On the other side, Synchro, though, being 1v1 by Linsus, doing a lot of work. He needs to run away. The permafrost is down, trying to get over the wall. There is a ward, and they can't quite get in range. He gets out alive.
Oh my god, Linsus reading Synchro right there, and even though that knock-up lands from Seiken to Kui. This is such a 180 from any game we've seen in this best of 5 series. This is bloodthirsty. We have 4 kills in 4 minutes. We had 7 kills in 22 minutes over in the other games. These both teams are down for blood.
Jezu has got a spell shield this time around. Targamas won't find the grand entrance he was looking for. Trying to find a moment for the last minute or so to...
Okay, that XP share coming through Nila's kit is absolutely disgusting. Level 4
Joy unending. It's a great
level
ability.
3. Yeah, it is crazy. It's like having a Zillion on steroids.
Does Zillion still have that passive?
Yeah, he does. But he gives it individually to people.
Right,
you click on them.
Yep. That's the big one.
And it's just about when they're about to level up that you can give it to them.
Oh, Targamas needs to be tough, scary, but there's that XP going on over again. You can see the effect coming on.
That lane is so scary.
In bot lane.
That lane is so scary, but Lintus is over there. I think
Synchro is going down the river as well. Oh my days.
Spotted now.
Here. They know the dragon's been started. Linsus is here. We might be ready for some serious action.
I think you just drop it. You have a wave pushing down bot lane.
Too risky.
I feel like Kalist and Targamas are already in position. Seiken has already moved from the mid lane. This is a KC Dragon. You have to drop it, you have to move out. Orianna only level 5, not a lot of mana. Lintus, you just need to leave, buddy. But he's playing body block, right? He's forcing KC to move to their lanes the wrong way around.
Oh, going for the engage. That's a flash away.
Takui misses the ultimate. Lintus couldn't be deep enough right there to force that fight. And Takui just about greedy to get that level 6 over in the mid lane on that last push while the dragon was going down, to get that shockwave, potentially force a fight together with Lintus when everyone else was not level 6. Good try for a catch right there. Missed opportunity, of course, and the game's still dead even just for the Dragon on the side of KC.
Of course, Targamas lost his flash for it. That's perhaps not what you were hoping for, but either way. Now,
it's okay.
It's fine. It's
Rakan is a sleeper
3
fish.
dashes, by the way. Double battle down to the grand entrance. It's a lot to
and now they talk about Katarina. She only has 1.
I'm sensing a hint of bitterness.
Hey, it's okay. I'm salty. Oh, Cabochon's been chased. Lincas is there as well.
Everyone is here. I don't know how that one goes right now, and I think both teams decide maybe we don't take this 2v2.
It's so crazy that every team instantly commits to ditch their wave on the spot, no matter where the wave is, to go down to their junglers. Wherever Syncroft has met Lincas, except from the first interaction in the jungle, which went south for Syncroft, every single member from both teams has actually moved. They're dropping waves to move for the skirmishes.
Jezu, level 4 to level 6. Of course, part of that's being off the back of a reset. I think he'll be close to level 5. You can see it in the bottom left corner of your screen, but right now, that's a rough state.
I feel like what happened there is when the bot lane interaction happened, there was a huge wave. Jezu ends up dying and Kalist ends up dying, but there was a huge wave pushing towards Kalist.
Oh, there's the Q3, and Turbo Strike's doing its work. Lince's still no level 6. It does not matter as Ragnar goes all out and goes all the way through Cabochon's heart.
What is the meme again? The copy pasta? Cassante, 4,000 HP, 3 dashes, 50 ultimates,
Showmaker's a content machine, man.
35 resets. I don't know what the saying is. I'm sorry, guys, for the copy pasta, but you will know, so you can spam
Twitch
it.
chat will sort
Really
it.
in Twitch
It's
chat,
fine.
yeah. Very good stuff right there. Getting something going on the map for Lincas. Hits that level 6, goes straight towards the top side of the map. Still has his ultimate up and available. So he could be looking potentially towards that bot side of the map. That Rakan looks pretty juicy. Extremely squishy champion if you manage to lock him down. And you have so much CC. If you pair up that Alistar with the Sejuani, with the ultimates right there, you can lock them down. But I feel like he might slow down until the next round. 2.5 minutes.
You do wonder, don't you? And again, and a minor-ish point, but Targamas, of course, with the 2 kills, gets to get a very early Giant spell. That Rakan that's normally so desperately squishy, actually with a couple levels, and the fact he's got the extra HP, maybe not as easy to burst all the way through before he can
Ragnar
dash.
is gonna spot Syncroft right here, and Syncroft is level 5.
That's
Even
risky.
his support is level 6.
I mean, the support gets the bonus of, you know, Neela XP, so there is a slight cheat in
I
that.
don't know if you want to be over there, but on the other hand side,
Lince has
Geo is level 4. Sorry, Geo is 4 versus 5 right here. I don't know if you want to take this fight, Geo.
Be a bit of a fight. Splash away from the shockwave. Still to the backline. Baron. No, one of them. Herald. There we go. Finally got the right option. Into the backline. They go 3-man Cataclysm. Targamas out. Damage goes flying on through. Still gets the kills. Syncroft just survives. 2 for 1. And Herald secured.
Geo, it's 4 versus 5. This is upset Fnatic all over again, where everyone wants to fight Herald, and then you have your AD carry farming over in the bot side of the map. But this should be communicated. This is a 4 versus 5. Kalist is already coming from on the way. You can see him in the jungle on the minimap right now. Syncroft does his job. He secures that Herald, which also gives him that level 6. Cataclysm's in, and then Kalist flashes in that pit that Jarvan created to ult everyone. What a fantastic chain of ultimates from the side of KC. Instantly gonna drop down that Rift Herald as well. And Ragnar being 2-0 up, having all this extra gold from the kill over in the top lane, dead even, and lost his tower through one interaction in the top side river, where GO took a very bad disadvantage fight.
Kalist gets a hold of those turret plates, well, shares them with the Renekton, because of course all the while Jezu was bot lane. He was getting plates, and so even the advantage he nominally got by sticking around bot lane is gone. It's not there anymore. Ragnar was having a really good game, and now he's going to be feeling a little bit aggrieved. He doesn't get a hold of all that lead he'd rightfully earned from himself in some ways.
Or griefed?
Aggrieved.
Okay, I heard griefed.
Oh, I
and I'm
mean-
like, that's a pretty good word
I mean,
as well.
it's a very League of Legends term, yeah. I was going
he got a little bit grief, but his team is okay.
I was going a little bit more verbose with it, and we just went straight back to League nomenclature.
Of course. Now the next one to attack is towards that bot side of the map. They dispatch at the top lane tower. Now they're taking the powerhouse that Kalist is. He has the collector already in. He's very, very powerful. Onto this Nila to Kui. Just chunking down Seiken whenever he gets a chance onto that Orianna. That's how the matchup went on the first game as well.
It's been well played by Takui. He knows how this one works out, as Orianna has been a real threat. And honestly, the shockwave in that last fight, almost good enough to kill off Syncroft and maybe make that fight a little bit more even. It didn't happen, of course.
Just
now,
missed that ward.
it's a game that's about 1,000 or so gold in the favor of Karmine Corp. Looking to claim a second dragon, and
You have to wait. You have to wait. You've got only static shift that Jesu just purchased.
You need a
When
second
when we're looking for late game silver, a second, even a third item. When we're looking for late game silver, we're looking for heavy DPS. Static shift is not going to give you that. It's going to give you a lot of
Wave
wave
clear,
wave
yeah.
clear. Yeah, thank you very much. but it's not going to give you a lot of DPS currently, and there's so much DPS sitting on the other hand side. The Renekton with the Gold Drinker, you've got Collector on Callisti's Nilla as well, so you definitely don't want to be fighting anytime soon if you're GO, but you're also on a timer. 10 minutes from now, if you keep giving up the Dragons, KC are going to be going for Soul. And you definitely do not want to be giving that one away if you're GO. So even though you want to scale, even though you want to sit there and wave clear all game long until your Sivir has 5 items, you're in a timer.
Silver lining for all the world. Silver might make both of these teams wince right now. It is only a Chem Soul, still considered one of the weaker options. Yes, of course, you have got
Didn't
Kalist.
used to be at the start of the season.
Well, yeah, I know.
It would bring back the dead, I heard.
Sion passive, who needs it? Kalist gets the Apotheosis, but this is going to be a 1v2. Swiftly backs out of that one.
Okay, I mean, it's fine. He's trying his power, right? He knew that Camillus was around anyway. Why not try to see how powerful you currently are versus a Sivir? Kalist is gonna pop his ultimate, but there's nothing really happening on the map that he would assume they would need his ultimate for. So, weighing up your situation, maybe picking up a cheeky summoner spell from your opponent. Like if Jesu panics at that particular point, you don't exactly know how much damage that like can cause you. You don't know if somebody's in that bush flashing onto you, right? So, good try right there from Kalist. Trying to see if Jesu would react to him. Jesu just walked back out. So we're going back to
Well, he walks away.
good old farmland League of Legends.
What would you grow in farmland in League of Legends?
Ooh, I would
Guess
grow
minions?
these
Honey
mango.
fruits. Ooh, honey fruit. Yeah, that's cool. I'd grow those. Probably, I bet they're quite tasty.
They sound juicy when you take them.
Sounds cheap.
Oh!
Into the mid lane we go. Enough prevaricating and procrastinating. We've got a fight to talk about. Up into the air goes Takui, and down into the grave he finds himself 6 feet under. Callisto on the wrong end of Jesu is trading back pretty heavily, but the formless blades make that one pretty even. Oh my god! Jesu styles on him.
Puts the stomp of authority over in the bot lane and pulls out an angry beef from Kalist, the solo bolo. It's been an AD carry battle. 5 games now. 5 games. The rookie, the 17-year-old who's trying to prove himself. We're gonna go straight into that replay in the mid lane, but my god, that was Gio looking for something, looking for an opportunity with the Sejuani ultimate, but Targamas being the Targamas we all know. In this particular game, he's stuck together with Syncroft. So whenever you're trying to pull the fight, you have to count a +1. But right here, again, Jesu, he did this over in game.
The re-angle with the flash.
I was about to say in another game, but he did it again. The flash Q to get the boomerang pizza back. He did it earlier on in that 2v3 that we saw in the bot lane to grab that kill onto Kalist again. So what a fantastic performance from both of these AD carries. The rookie 17-year-old who's trying to show up, who's trying to earn that early spot over in the LDC, and Jesu being there, falling back down, trying to prove himself 10x to get back up in there so that he is worthy to be put with the tops? The top ADCs of our region.
He's down Flash, he's down Ghost. Just to be a little bit afraid, because of course Syncroft can lock him in a cage and there's no way out
Got the kill, it's worth.
Honestly, yeah. 2-1-0, you're not too worried about that one.
Sometimes you gotta boost your ego here or there, okay?
On to the Herald we go. Gio holding court, waiting to see whether there's an angle to be found. Syncroft, Seiken, and Targamas here as well.
I'm looking at Woods and I'm like, where does that Cassante land? You'll see that Ragnar is just gonna start walking up currently. I don't know if they're gonna choose to walk towards the Rift Trail, because last time this happened, it was very bad news from Gio. I feel like Talia is Talia has such a powerful tool to try and separate the team. And if you look at Gio and what they stand for, it's front-to-back team fight. It's protect the Savior, play proper front-to-back. Talia can break this apart very easily with just the press of an R button. So I think it was very wise from Gio to stall here and not go for it.
Picture-in-picture, so Kavashar TP immediately bot lane. Clear out the wave that Ragnar was shoving in there, and of course, has been playing this game very well. Ragnar, of course, has largely been on the losing end versus Kavashar, particularly this Renekton, but this game around has played this one very well, and of course into the Jax game as well.
And he did lose his tower as well earlier on.
Exactly that, so it did get shoved into with that Herald. Has played this game out pretty damn well. Who needs to hit a cannon, really? I know. Shocking. Pro players, am I right? But perhaps unnecessarily sarcastic there as we head over to a mid-game where
Ragnar.
We find out Ragnar. I just don't know how much value they're going to get
It's
there.
just a Jarvan
It's
and a
probably
Renekton.
it's Jarvan Renekton into Thornmail first on the Cassante as well. You don't do a lot of damage here.
KC are gonna start the Dragon. This is gonna be soul point for them if they manage to get it. Look at Seiken, sorry, positioning right there. One wall can break apart an entire fight. Gonna tip over on Camillus, but KC 50% down.
There's the wall. Comes on down, and then use Camillus on the wrong side of it. Ragnar on the other side, though, might find their way in. Down to 3,000 HP, and we have ourselves a fight! Into the backline they go. Camillus! 3-man on Tofo strike! Deletes so many, but they just about kill Camillus. He gets a lot of damage down before that. Ragnar flashing on out. Sivir desperately running away from Cabochard.
Oh, Camillus!
Camillus does his work. Synchrof pull back out, and Seiken gets another seismic shove, and it sends reverberations around the French fandom. Karmine Corp win the fight.
Top, mid, and jungle have been so incredibly instrumental in this fight. Seiken, again, Cabochard onto his Renekton, zoning out the fight. And even though Jesu keeps dropping his body over and over again to try and kill Kalist, no one can deal with that Renekton in the mid-game. Level 11 for Cabochard, and look at him. Seiken tried to separate them, but the second that ultimate goes through, Camillus gets a pretty lovely 2-man knockup right there. And this is how they assassinate Kalist. But then Ragnar is stuck in the ultimate, Tukui is stuck in the Javan ultimate, and Jesu is stuck in the ultimate. They have to all flash out. Cabochard follows them through, and he just cleans them up.
It's a close fight, yes, but it's just not enough. Still an additional kill for Jesu, you take it, but again...
It's not how you want to be fighting. I feel like if you have Ragnar on a flank, it's just not gonna work. Ragnar's job here is to take the Renekton out of dodge. You don't want that Renekton anywhere near GO. They have enough frontline if the Renekton is not there to dive their backline. And I feel like GO need to reassess the way they play around these teamfights, because if they allow Cabochard to play however the heck he wants in these teamfights and dive onto the backline of GO, the game is as good as gone.
And even then, Ragnar gets a beautiful 3-man you onto Seiken and Kalist at the same time. Like,
And
it's
it
still
didn't
a good
matter.
fight.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they killed Kalist, but not fast enough. And of course, that was the issue, right? There was no Frozen Fist completed by Ragnar quite yet. Sorry, Iceborne Gauntlet, of course. Not completed as yet because, of course, he'd gone for the Full Mill first. Didn't quite have that damage, that burst available to him, even with the All-Out. Still, though, it's a close game. Soul point, though, for Karmine Corp. Gold lead just about to Karmine Corp, and you just feel the edge begins to come on through. Yes, the scaling is phenomenal. Sivir, Orianna, two of the bigger scaling champions in this whole damn game, but all the
You need a
while-
second item. You need to somehow farm a second item on Jesu if Geo won't even a chance of
3 minutes,
contesting
maybe.
this Dragon. Of course, that refill had to be put down. It can't last for another 3 minutes to get that pressure in the mid lane. And of course, it's way after 14 minutes, so it's not going to necessarily cash in an entire play. The Dragon's going to walk out, but he's going to use his stop-up right there on the knockup, but he doesn't have it anymore.
Over they come, they'll keep him alive for now, and he survives, so does the tower, all the white Takui will get that top lane tier 1. That's potentially a critical moment, get some more golden boxes of Geo, but now he needs to run away so desperately fast. Synchrov's coming, can he find the right bush? He's guessing right, down comes the ward. They think you're playing this one out. Shockwave comes down alongside the teleport, 2v2. Cataclysm comes on down. Ragnar begins to jump forward. Seiken taken so desperately low. Over the wall. Goes back out with a decent flash, but now Targamas pulled back in. Gets the battle dance away, but will still flash. Ragnar looking for some more. Pushed away. The damage is still there. Ragnar dies, but not before taking Seiken with him.
And look in the mid lane, look in the mid lane. Kalist is pushing together with Cabochard. The team is going to come in. I don't know if it's in time. It's not.
It is there, but now he's got no turret. Kalist can run at him with a Formless Blade, and it puts rust into the circuitry.
The TP Cabochard on the
They're
flank.
going topside, they are indeed. Lince is now in danger. It's a bloodbath, it's a mess. There's teleports everywhere. The crocodiles into the backside, the jaws clamp down on the throats of Geo. Do not pass go. Do not pick up 400 gold. Go straight to jail, because Karmine Corp pick up a triple on their superstar, their captain, their top laner. And guess what just spawned? Baron's there for the taking.
KC with an absolute stomp of a fight, grabbing the ace, and we said it at the very beginning. One team has to win on the red side to take the series. GO could not. KC are doing it. 5,000 gold in the lead. Minute and a half for the Dragon. It's going to be their soul. GO have to fight back to back now without the Summoners and Kalist. I thought the teleport would not come through, and Tukui really must be reminiscent of those times of the tower dying and him not making it through, because he ended up going down to Kalist. Not only does he take the tower, but he takes together a lot of the hopes of the GO fans making it to the finals. And Jesu right here gets absolutely CC'd and locked down and taken down together with his cow. Triple kill for Cabochard.
How many times has it been that Geo have been in this position in the semi-final and not made it work when it matters? How many times has Karmine Corp just made it look like it's written in the stars that they are destined to be in the finals, destined to win this whole damn tournament? It has been so desperately close, but that sequence of plays earns them a monumental advantage, and they've made a few monuments to their time here at this tournament. Be liking to make themselves a fourth one if they can make it happen. 20 seconds till Seoul.
20 seconds and Geo need to establish some push over in the mid lane. There's still a tower standing for KC, so there's only so far they can push in that mid lane tower. The wall's gonna come down.
Sagan throws it down. That wall is looking mighty blue today. They're gonna try and get to the backside. Ragnar so low. Not out though. Treads the charm through onto Camillus, who dies. Think over to the backside. Gets the Cataclysm down. Does die. That is the jungler. But look at Cabochard on the backside chasing down Ragnar.
Oh!
And my God! It's another one. Kalist gets the triple. Kalist can take Baron and run down the mid lane. I think they've done it.
There are 30 seconds timers on the people that can do the damage, on the people that can do the wave clear over or GO. They couldn't win on red side. KC can.
They look to continue shoving. It was written in the stars. It was predestined. 14 seconds to make something happen. Karmine Corp desperately continuing to shove on in. And maybe that destiny will have to wait for just a moment longer. They retreat, they hold on, and they do not push too far.
Let's look at this one again. Sagan with a lovely wall, shoving everyone through a choke point, having to walk such a tight choke point when you're playing against Talia can be so scary. And look, Ragnar, that's his job. He takes the Renekton away, but Cabochard locks the two carries into the prison again, and one knockup from Sagan is enough for Kalist to finish the job right there. What a fantastic, fantastic series from the mid-AD carry duo from Karmine Corp, because I know numbers talk a lot for Kalist and he's incredible. But my God, has Sagan been setting up game after game after game, even the ones that were unwinnable.
And now we find ourselves with Karmine Corp up Seoul, up 7,000 gold, up the dregs of a Baron, 3 seconds left on it. So not much more to be seen on that one, but Geo, is there anything left? Any miracle yet to be written? Any way to deny what feels inevitable?
It would be to Kui on his Orianna. Pull one of these huge shockwaves. Try and create pressure over in the backline for KC. Cannot quite reach Camillus with the engagement. There's gonna chunk Kalist quite a lot. He was too far forward, but Syncroft is looking. Syncroft is hunting.
Doesn't find that much, but Targamas does. Into the backline, though, goes that Glacial Present. Cabochard there, knocked around, doesn't find as much value as they're hoping for, and that's not the best moment for Karmine Corp. Teleport behind. Maybe this is the moment. Maybe this is what Geo were looking for. A go button. Cabochard is deleted. Shutdown comes on through.
Oh, they got through!
And that will try and make it happen. Still a pullback on Syncroft. They can't go forward for now. KC on the retreat. KC too far.
Your base,
KC
your base, your base.
Can't make it happen into the base. You're right, there are minions there. But go see a moment. Go see an angle. Go see the chance to maybe make things happen. Kalist goes unstoppable. Into the back of the Camillus, but cannot find the pulverize. A double for Kalist, of course it is. How much further can he go? Targamas goes wide in the ground end. We can still possibly get out of here. The base happening. They're teleporting in. Surely it doesn't happen like this, but Karmine Corp cannot be denied. Karmine Corp will not be denied. Karmine Corp are onto the Nexus, and they will make themselves a blue wall all the way to Montpellier on the foundations of the blood of Team GO. Fourth finals for Karmine Corp.
And of course it's Sagan. It had to be Sagan. Taking down that Nexus, proving that KC can win on red side, proving that they are the best LFL team that France has ever produced over in the ERL system, proving that they are the final boss, and they'll see you at the finals, Movistar. I hope you're watching. I hope you're taking down notes.
I can only imagine the scenes on Twitter and across France. How big is that?
Look at the happiness.
Fandom.
It's Montpellier. Montpellier without KC, we can't do that.
Oh no, we can't. Certainly not now. Certainly not like this. They do it in scintillating style. It was close, and I do want to take a moment to celebrate and commiserate the Team GO, because they put up a hell of a fight. They took us all the way to Game 5. Even in that last game, you saw a moment there at the end. They saw potentially that angle, but it was too narrow, and it was snapped shut by Karmine Corp.
So many stars, so many names in both of these rosters. Geo trying to fight the demons, coming third through the LFL, of course. Need to commend them for coming this far, but how sad can you be when there hasn't been a single team that has been able to beat KC and you fell to them in a game 5?
I'm sure there will be some moments later where that feels good. Right now, I suspect it feels
Terrible.
So very bitter. But perhaps to celebrate this win, let's toss to a bit of something else because we've got to celebrate Karmine Corp, don't we?
Thank you so much, guys. France versus Spain. We will have 4 Masters finals next week in Montpellier, and it had to be KC. It had to be KC. That's something we've talked about within the French community a few months back, actually, when the finals was announced in Montpellier. Every fans were like, "This is meant to be. This is the script, guys. This is where we come back and we get the throne back in Montpellier." And honestly, what an amazing way of doing it.
Yeah, I really wonder, do we still have tickets available after this one? Because we had tickets going into today. I'm not sure if the tickets are still there. If the tickets are still for sale, I'm sure production could bring it up in a lower third as well. But there are still tickets for finals in Montpellier, and I'm sure that they're going to get taken away now as well, seeing as KC have actually made it to the final.
I can already see the arena covered in blue jerseys and blue tiles. Usually, if you've never caught a K-Corp event, I think it's the moment to do it. But I honestly think it's going to be really interesting coming up against the Spanish representatives. A story for later, though, because I want us to talk about this game and compare the approach both teams had going into this game 5 compared to the expectations we had. Who wants to go first?
I think out of the picks that we saw, it was definitely Karmine Corp, the broad, the curveballs we were talking about with Danila, also without the center, coming through an R3. But once again, this is a champion to just pass up very well with whatever has a heal and a shield to really amplify that. And you know what? Rakan has both. And I was wondering where he was going to be in this series. So yeah, I think Karmine Corp really got what they wanted in that regard. And you can see they struggled a bit playing against it, specifically in the mid to late game. But in the beginning, it looked good for Go.
Yeah, it did for a little while, but I think it's when it got down to the team fights, that's where really you start to see the massive difference. And I think it was also a good identification from Team Geo, where it was, hey, a lot of these games are being decided bot lane early through skirmishes and team fights. Let's try and, well, I don't know if they've said so much forced, but let's try and take the earlier spiking AD carry in the Nila. So we're playing this collector, we're going to have a really good time if we go for these early fights. Whereas when you look across at Takui, who's gone for the Orianna, you're waiting 2.5 to 3 items before you come online. Now you got a Sivir, you're waiting 2.5 to 3 items before you come online. It felt like our GO were kind of forced into this scenario where we're like, we kind of have to fight Karmine Corp because they're forcing us to a 21-minute soul, or we're now in a position where, well, we're fighting before any of our items come into place. So it just felt like there was no real win for Geo.
Yeah.
You can see towards the end of it, Ragnar, I think, had a fantastic game. He was trying his best.
Yeah, he really
but
did.
There was just so much pressure on the map that Karmine Corp had created. It was just too hard for Geo to catch up.
I think that's really what it came down to as well. It was just a map movement, because even though that Go got ahead early, it was still Karmine Corp that was playing the map better with a goal deficit, and that's just been what they've been doing best in their victories as well. So yeah, Karmine Corp as we knew it.
What an anticlimactic way of ending the Texas here. But yeah, Geo had it in the early game quite a bit actually, but it was not enough. I feel like it came down to how both these compositions have to play into each other, but also individual performance on the side of some players. Missing the mark a bit, Dagda, in that game 5 on the side of Geo.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the fact you get off this early start with the jungle, obviously you get the invade, you get the Orianna coming through, and it looks great. But when it came down to it, it was, for me, the Rift Herald fight at the 8-minute mark, or 8.5-minute mark, where they end up trying to take this skirmish in the Rift Herald pit. You still have your AD carry down in the bottom side of the map. And I think it was was the major difference, where you're 4 versus 5. You heard on the cast as well, where they're saying, hey, look, you need help. You can't just go for this. And then you got great plays from Syncroft, where he does, to be fair, get knocked into the pit by Camilius, but then hitting the level 6, immediately jumping back in, being able to play around the edge of just his health bar. And then the same with Kalist, right? This guy on the Nila was phenomenal. Like, early kills, getting 2 kills into that pit as well. But then you could see it immediately starting to open up a split push pressure. He gets the mid lane tower, immediately kills Takui as he comes back in as well. Like, it was domination from the bot lane, and it was Kalist once more.
Yeah, and I think that also goes down to the fact that they don't really know what this champion does. Like, it's
that's
really,
the issue. Yeah.
It really is, because it feels like it's a champion they haven't played against enough. You know, seeing the TP come through, even if the tower doesn't fall, or like the tower almost fell, but even in a scenario where it still has HP, he just one-shots it and then one-shot you still. So I think it was a scenario where they really didn't know what they were put up against, and as soon as it got accelerated, they really didn't know how to lock it down, even with all the CCs that they had. But I think a lot of that came into the Delia, the Jarvan as well. We saw some of the fights as well earlier where the CC is just there. At least I can't pull the combos off. The Reptile one where he gets stunned as well, so he can't do the WQ. But also just with, if there's no flash on Jesu, he can't play the game at all whatsoever.
And I know that I've been praising Kalist a lot already, guys, but I'm not done. This is the beginning of this player's career, and you're gonna hear
We still have
way
a final
more.
before.
We have a finals, but also once again, he's just 17 years old, and he's popping off so much. And I know that in the LEC, I often say that we need younger players like this. We need new players that are gonna bring a breath of fresh air to the team they're playing with, because these players are fearless. Usually, they want to prove themselves, and unlike players that have been here on the scene for some time, who can grow into some habits and some playstyle habits, seeing explosive players like this is what I love the most, honestly. And Kalist incarnates this so
I think it's
much.
it's the confidence. Like it's very rare when you. I think it showed a lot for Team Geo, where there was moments where I was like, "Can we go for this?" And like, you're not fully committing to a play. You think you should be able to, and you should be able to win because of that fear. There was none of that for Kalist.
No.
He basically was like, "I know I can win this, and I'm going to make that play happen." And it's either a case of you're going to try and you're going to have to send 1, 2, 3 members to take me down, or an extra people to come and take me down, or I'm going to hard win the game off this. And I think it's that explosiveness, that decisiveness, but also just that. Well, I said it like after game 2, the killer instinct to just go, "This is my moment," and it is what makes the great AD carries great. Like it's what you see from players like Jackie Love or Pays or Ruler, right? Like these are the guys that at a moment's notice can see that angle and take it. And I think that's what Kalist has shown in this.
I want to see Kalist in the LEC. If not now, in a few years, honestly, I think it would be interesting to see him go against the likes of the best ADCs we have in the league. But another player that I would like to praise here is Seiken, because goes a bit under the radar for the first few games. I don't want to say underwhelming performance, but not as shiny as we may have seen him in his best moments. And ramping up throughout the series with the Rise pick, and also in this last game, I feel like he had a good moment.
He was scaling. He was
scaling, yeah.
throughout the series. He had a hard time in the beginning, as you said, but I also think that there came more intent into the decision making. The Rise was great in a comfort scenario there, but I also think the Talia into the champions that you already saw, that was much more dash reliant. It felt like in the early games of the series, Talia was just picked to have Talia. But it wasn't really accomplishing what a Talia would do when it often, stops the dashes. But this time around, with the champions that it was into, it just brought so much more pressure, especially together with a Jarvan as well, with the Cataclysm that made it so easy to play. So yeah, huge props to Seiken in the second, on the last game here, because I do believe it did the most damage as well.
Yeah.
So really putting out the numbers.
Yeah, I think alongside that, like, Cabo Shard as well had a fantastic game in the Renekton again. He gets his hands on it and pops the hell off, right? And I think they very quickly identified on Karmine Corp that Geo just weren't really peeling for the carries in a lot of these fights. Like, you had the Sejuani, it's still after you, it's on your nose now.
Yeah,
you
thank you,
still
man.
have the Sejuani.
Take a shower
You still have
sometime.
you have the Sejuani, you
Close
have the Alistair. And you've also got like your top lane Cassante, right? Like you have 3 members that should be able to peel for your backline, but Cabo was getting access consistently. And then, as you say, between the Jarvan, the Renekton, being able to set up for these flicks on the Talia, you've just got no hope. And I think that was the biggest problem, was that so many of these opportunities where Jesu was trying to set up were just shut down because it was just so much that was coming his direction. He couldn't manage everything.
Player of the series here for you. Who would we give it to?
So I think the most consistent player throughout all of the games would be Cabo Shard.
Yeah.
And he might not have been the flashiest in terms of the one winning the games, but he was definitely on the Renekton in the early stages. The Jax was okay. The rest of that was also falling apart. But I think in terms of stable player that was there throughout the entire series, for me, it was Cabo Shard.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to agree with it, right? Every time you looked at him on the Renekton in that top side for the first 3 games or whatever, it was like a 2k gold lead. Like, he was very much taking over. And it was just, in some of the games, struggling to translate that into pressure elsewhere on the map. But as you say, consistency was there. And then, obviously, second, it would have to be Kalista. I think he had a fantastic series. And, I mean, at the end of the day, we said this bot lane was the difference maker across the course of the series, and Kalista was the one who came out on top at the end.
And coming with new champions as well, I feel like it's not an easy thing to do. I want to praise Team Geo, though, for how far they made it. 1 door away from finals yet again. It seems to be a curse for the team at this point, but I just want to bring them up because I feel like, and alongside any EU Masters team that we've seen also so far, the fact that you have the LEC on the line here for some of these players. Ragnar is a player that I was anticipating to see in the LEC this year. We didn't. I think Linkas can be the same case as well. Some players want to return to the league. What is the hope and what kind of future do you foresee for this lineup, for these players, given what they achieved and the run they had at EMEA Masters this time?
I think right now for a lot of the players, this probably feels a bit like the end. You can even see it on Linkers there as well. The time to really, or just rather the time to really make it back. But the thing is, with showings like this and with the teams you're playing against, it's not the end. It's only beginnings in terms of the journey that you're setting your foot across. And especially for the younger players as well that haven't been there either, it might feel hopeless again, off-season after off-season, not making it. But the fact that you still continue with the drive to make it to where they are right now and taking Karmine Corp to a game 5 like this and still showing good signs throughout the series will be monumental in them and their future as well. So hopefully for them, they don't see this as absolute utter defeat. I know it obviously sucks, but hopefully it's just the beginning.
And it's hard to not say that they haven't made a name for themselves here as well, right? Like, this was an incredibly close-fought series against Karmine Corp, who are 3 times winners going into the finals now. Like, they really did do everything to get themselves across. And as you say, brilliant performances across the board from several of the players. It's hard to not say that not only LEC teams, but teams across the board are going to be looking at these guys going, okay, you have clearly shown your strength, you've shown you have the skill, and can operate in a team environment. Like, this is only the beginning for a lot of these players.
Before talking a bit about the finals, getting a bit of a preview of the France-Spain matchup that we're going to have and that I'm really excited about, I still want to fall back on the EMEA Masters as a whole and what we've seen, because it feels like split after split, year after year, we have regions getting stronger. I'm thinking about Italy here. I'm thinking about TCL joining the league also. And the fact that even though the last few years have been vastly dominated by the LFL and the Superliga, I feel like we have more contendant now to the titles, and this competition is just getting even more intense year after year.
Yeah, I think it's been really, really cool to see. Like, I was very lucky to be part of the first EMEA, like EU Masters right back in 2018, and that was when it was like Mad Lions back in the day.
Oh my
they were
God.
dominating, where like to see the rise and fall almost of the LVP in that, to then see we had like the DOC region have their moment, the LFL are having their time at the moment. It definitely feels like we're getting these consistent swings. But even like right back then, we'd have teams like North Assist Famagusta that was doing really well from the Greek league that ended up popping off and taking down Mad Lions, that really threw that group into havoc back in summer 2018. You then see the PG Nats now having their time in the spotlight, where they put on a magnificent showing, taking down Karmine Corp back to back in groups as well. It's incredible to see just how these regions grow and how they not only just grow, but it's also how they kind of nurture this new talent that's coming in, because I think it's very easy to look at some of the big regions and go, oh, well, they have the money, they have the big names, we're not going to be able to compete. But it's the players that are showing up over and over again that are creating their names, and then even the newer players that are just coming through and going, hey, I can actually kick it with the big guys and I can take them down. And I think that's the most memorable moments in the EMEA Masters.
That's so inspiring. I will follow you to war. Honestly. No, but yeah, and that's what League is about. And the fact that you have new players challenging the old guard every time, I feel, is what makes the competition even more interesting. And players aiming for their comeback story as well. EMEA Masters is amazing, guys. Honestly, year after year, it keeps on getting better. A bit more focus on the series we had today, as we need to highlight a special play. I don't know which one it is, but we're going to take it right now. A support play, of course.
I think it was Camille's Alistair play.
It should be, unless we had a better one in Game 5, but I don't think we did. So yeah, LVM play of the day. And it will be an All-Star play. Oh my God, this team fight was beautiful.
I like how his knock starts out here as well. He's really trying to make sure he can use the Talia ground as well to get the knock-up into a stun at the beginning. Unfortunately, he runs out. But the big performance here is really the knock-up he's going to secure in just a bit here on all 3 members to really secure another reset for the Diego. Sadly, they didn't win this game, but they came very close to.
Yeah, I think it's the presence of mind in that moment as well, where it's like, okay, what CC has been used, especially like we didn't even catch the first bit of that clip, which was when he like saved Linkus as well with like, oh, there's Cabo Shard on him, I'll get this done, so Linkus gets the reset and all this, right? But it's like, Rel is the only person still a CC available that could potentially ruin that fight. Cool, headbutt her away. It's like constantly picking and choosing how many of these people are going to be coming in. And I think that's the most important part of that fight for me, was how present he was in the moment to see all the different angles and make sure he could shut it down immediately.
Sorry, I was just getting in for your hair. I got distracted. I just want to touch on finals before we get ahead with the Cabochard interview. He's getting ready, guys. Stick around. He's gonna come, and yeah, I'm guessing you want to hear from him as an old LEC legend. But guys, focusing on finals, France versus Spain, Movistar Riders versus Karmine Corp. It had to end like this. What do you anticipate the most from this matchup? Because for me, it is going to be Super versus
It is just Super versus
Super
Kalis.
versus Kalis, guys. That's the only story here.
It's so interesting because you get this prodigy now of an AD carry coming in for France. You get against Super, who's been rumored as well to always be like, oh, he's so close to coming into an LEC, or you heard it in the off season as well. But now you get the Spanish AD carry in Super versus the French AD carry in Caliste, and it's just a clash of nationality, two fan bases, the two most passionate, at least in Europe, from what we've seen in the past as well, in terms of their region and when it comes into the final. And I think a lot of it is going to be contested on the Seri pick. They've both really heavily contested this champion as well. Obviously, Caliste has a bit of a different champion pool that gives them an edge there, but I think there's so many different intricacies that goes into it. But I also think Isma is a guy you have to mention because he lives in that bot lane, and he's going to continue living there as well. I think so much action will come through down in the bot lane. I think the reason why a lot of the teams have lost to Movistar Riders was because they thought to themselves, well, I have to be up topside now. My camps are respawning. And Isma said, no, buddy, it's bot lane. And then they go for 3 versus 2 while the jungler is just on the enemy side. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to have a look at the bot lane matchup.
But even just like Karmine Corp likes to fight. Movistar Rider kill everyone and everything at any point in time that exists ever. It's like, this is going to be such a fun like early game to just watch and see how it pans out. And as you say, like even like Alvaro versus Targamas as well in that bot side, like it feels like there's so many matchups across the board here. They're going to make this so insane. And to do it in front of a massive crowd in France as well, in Montpellier, Occitanie, like what an incredible time.
I'm so hyped. I hope you guys are hyped at home as well. And I hope the man in the top lane is also hyped as we have Cabochard joining us for the interview. Cabo, comment ça va? Ça fait si longtemps.
Mais ouais, ça va super. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thank you. That was an entertaining series. Congrats on reaching finals. Yet again, it feels like if you guys make it to the tournament anyway, it has to be finals and it has to be a win. Otherwise, why bother showing up? Like that's the way Karmine Corp does it. How do you reflect on the series and everything that happened today?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had those struggles in groups, but it feels like since the quarters and the fact that we 3-0 TCL, like a new energy came in, and yeah, basically, like the story has been the same in 2021 and 2022 in the semis. We go to 5 games, so it feels very homey, like we know the day is gonna get long and we're gonna have to perform on game 5, and yeah, I'm really proud of all the boys. Like we made it through, even though like our backs were against the wall.
Been there, done that, used to it. We were just talking on the desk about the performance you had today overall, which to us is MVP worthy performance. We have some stats to back this up, but yeah, how do you reflect the impact you had in the games you had today? And yeah, do you think you should get the MVP?
Well, if Caliste had the balls to take Nila from game 1, probably would have gotten it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just came in playing Renekton in the end. I mean, I guess they thought I was only the tank player since we played only that in the quarters. But yeah, we had a different game plan, and I mean, besides game 3, where I feel like we got too cocky in draft and really like they were winning, and we just couldn't show up to play. Like the other games felt quite in control, and we had the chance every time to show like what we could do in skirmishes and mid game. So I'm glad about that.
What do you think of the preparation you had coming in today? Because I was honestly expecting a more one-sided series. I didn't expect Geo to fight so much against you guys. What was your understanding of the team coming up today, especially given the fact that you played there 4 times this year in the LFL?
Yeah, not only we know Geo, but like we know the players, right? They play in LFL in like for a long time, so we know what we're going against. I think first game was the decision if we had to go to like play just front to back and lock in the tank top like triple golem composition that we've been playing, or if we could play something more like oriented around early skirmishing. And eventually it felt like if we had good control around mid game and just stack the drakes, this was the way to go. So this was the shift, I think, like during the series after game 3.
Would you say that this iteration of KC is the stronger you've played with coming into this finals, this 4th finals?
It's hard to judge. Maybe because I feel like the EU Masters level is a bit lower this year than it was like last year, for example. So I'm not sure. And then
All right.
like we all have taken different roles as well. Like if you compare the last year or 2 years ago, like we had to adapt differently to what the group was cooperating. So
Okay.
I don't know if I can answer this one.
All right, all right. Well, we'll see after finals, actually, and if you guys can make it.
Sure.
Any resolution for Montpellier next week, facing off against Spain and Movistar Riders? What is your take on the team as of now? They 3-0'd their semifinals, but what does it say about them?
Yeah, I mean they like to fight early as well. Like I think there will be a lot of like skirmishing, and I mean when you're in K-Corp, playing in front of the crowd means everything, right? So it's gonna be a banger to just see the fans again. The arena is gonna be super big, and I just can't wait to show it again. Last time we got in Nice, we got a small grasp of what it is, and now it's gonna be even bigger.
I mean, that's a great follow-up to my last question, actually, just focusing on Montpellier. Casey, French players playing in Montpellier, playing in France in front of a huge arena. Of course, you're going to have the fans behind you, facing another French player in the finals, in the likes of Isma in the jungle. How hyped are you about these finals that you're going to be playing in your home soil? Because I was saying in the desk that the story is written already. If you have to take back your throne, it has to be in Montpellier. So how do you anticipate the event?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super hyped. Like after the sprint split, that was pretty rough. Like we all committed to having like the Mercato and train as soon as we could. And now, as you said, like in EU Masters, we have never lost a best of 5. We have always gone like all the way. And I think the story will just repeat itself. It's written for us.
Any message for Movistar riders?
I mean, just watch out. We're coming there.
Easy, watch out. Kevo, thank you so much. And I have a last question for you. Are you going to come barefoot on stage? For me, that's the most important one.
Obviously, that's an easy one.
Perfect. Kevo, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will let you rest after this long day. Et à la semaine prochaine. See you next week.
À plus, Laure.
Bye.
What was that mean?
I have to let you know, guys.
We lose pro view and get toe view.
It's no, it's a classic Kevo. If you've never watched the LFL events or anything, he always shows up either barefoot or wearing flip flops on stage.
Oh.
That's the Kevo special. So yeah, any
Has
feet
he ever
enjoyers,
lost
I don't know, whatever. Just watch out for Kevo next week. But yeah, nice to hear from him. It's been ages since I interviewed him. I'm so hyped about next week, guys. Not only because it's in my home country and we have a French team representing, but just also because the French and Spain rivalry, I think, is even more intense now.
Absolutely. I hope you lose.
Thank you. That's time for us to sign off. Then, GB, whatever. Thank you so much for being with me today on the desk. We will see you next week in Montpellier for the grand finals of EMEA Masters 2023 summer. Until then, take care and bye-bye. Not you, though.
Yeah, I get it. It's okay.
ilk gelişim değil. Ama bu defa onları yerle bir etmek için buradayım.
Her şey bitti. Çok geç kaldı bu savaşa. Ben orada olacağım. The mythical beasts fall. Wildcats roar.
Alles stand in Flammen. Aber jetzt ist die Zeit für Rache.
Napotkałem na swojej drodze wiele trudności, jednak tym razem nic mnie nie powstrzyma. ¿Qué le demostrar al resto? Que tú no te brillas.
Karmine Corp have done it. Back to back EU Masters Champions.
On vous a manqué. Il est temps de reprendre ce qui nous appartient.